Hello, everyone. It's me again. I'm just Veena from International Book Promotion, and today we're gonna talk to author D.L. Blackburn. D.L. Blackburn is an indie author and an artist who began writing in October 2016. His debut book, Office School Orientation, was released on November 8, 2019 on Amazon and Apple Books. The 20-plus year professional artist turned author illustrated all the characters and cover work in the series. With his most recent book in the Office Pool series, now published on August 1st, 2020, book two is called Extraction, and the author is now currently working to complete book three in the series, which is the final installment due out mid 2021. So, in addition to that, DL is simultaneously working on another book series, and the multi-book fast young adult fantasy epic will be called Sons of the Seven. Right. Without further ado, let's welcome the author to our show today. Hello.
Hi, how are
DL
you?
Blackburn. I'm good. I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing well, and you? Thank you. Thank you for
Awesome.
having
Right.
me.
Thank you actually for joining our show today, and we're going to talk about something very interesting in your book, which is about the characters that you have developed in your books. And before we talk about your characters, briefly, could you briefly introduce yourself and where you're from and what you do to the viewers out there?
Okay, I'd like to say hi to my kids. I usually say that. I'm a writer. I started writing pretty much in like 2016, and the last couple years. And I don't know if I said my name, D.L. Blackburn, and that's my pen name. And I pretty much just started writing, around October of 2016. After doing art for about 20 years, and just wanted another change, just looking for a new challenge. And I thought writing was a good outlet where I could still be creative.
Right. Coming to your profession as an illustrator, or probably I think you have worked as an illustrator before. So how did that start, and is that one of your passions? And how do you get the idea to actually connect illustrations with writing, right? So tell us about that.
Okay, well, I've been drawing since probably the age of 2 years old, ever since I could pick up a pen, all different objects, crayons, and drawing, painting, whatever could transfer onto a surface, color or marks, I would use it throughout my life. And all throughout life, and through grade school, middle school, and high school. And I was able to win a scholarship doing that, and I ended up going to art school. And when I did graduate, my diploma actually was given to me by Tommy DePaulo, and I had won the national scholarship. And he had come for my graduation and gave me actually hand delivered my diploma, and he kind of gave me encouraging words. He told me to keep illustrating, and and to keep trying to improve with various styles. So I went on to art school and graphic design, and throughout those years from high school on, 20 years later, that was an impression impressed upon me as a young teenager, and it stayed with me 20 years. And just some small motivational words from Mr. DePaulo it kind of pushed me through to want to improve and be the best I could be in art and creatively. Um, and I guess like it was kind of like a natural progression from going from art to writing. I mean, having I have writing utensils. I've had writing utensils in my hands for 30
Mm-hmm.
30 something plus years. So uh, for me, it seemed like a natural progression, uh, and I think that's kind of how it all happened. Was just from being in and around writing utensils all the time. Um,
Mm-hmm.
that's the best. That's the only thing I could really think of. Other than that, yeah.
Uh-huh. Right. So, in terms of the idea, I mean, like shifting from being an illustrator to becoming an author, or venturing into the world of writing, and especially the characters that you have developed, and using pen especially, right? So, um, how did that idea actually spark?
Okay. Well, I guess it was one day when I was at my house in back in 2016. I lived in
Mm-hmm.
Surfside Beach, South Carolina, and I was going through a junk drawer, and I think I was going out with my oldest daughter to we were just going to grab a few things, and I just before I was I wrote a list down. I went to go grab a pen out of the drawer, and in that drawer is a junk drawer, and I sure enough I found a pen in there, and as I'm writing it down, in that weird moment, I was kind of like I was writing the list on the back of a receipt, and as I was writing it, I just kind of looked at the pen like, you know, there's always a pen in a drawer, and I was kind of like, what is the story of this particular pen? How did it get in this drawer? It was brand new at one point, and it came from somewhere. And as I went about my day, I that little incident right there kind of sparked, uh, I guess, the idea, and I kind of started to think about how could that there's a story there somewhere on how everything ends up in a drunk drawer, and how things have things that like, things and people are were new at one time or were in our prime, and then things kind of get discarded or you get forgotten, and I tried to draw a parallel between the two, and I said, how can I make that work? And while I was thinking about it, I kind of went back and forth with. I'm like, that's kind of crazy. I could never work. But then I went and I was looking at all my materials, and I saw the different kinds of pens and different kinds of writing utensils, and I was just like, these could be races of people. These could,
Mm-hmm.
and each one of them had a different function. They have a different job, and
Correct.
I started thinking. I started progressing a little more and more, and I was just like, okay, well, there's enough variety in them to represent races. So now I say,
Mm-hmm.
their functions, and then I kind of was like, let's build a status within them and a hierarchy. And I that took some time to build, to make it kind of work. But once I got the first few down, it kind of fell into place after that. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I would say just world building came from writing on a receipt on a random day.
Mm-hmm. Right. So now, coming to the question that we were talking about on Instagram earlier, right? So, do you what kind of other characters that you have in your book? Like, apart from we know that Pen is one of the main characters probably in your book, and what are the other characters? Like, how many characters are there, and how do you link like from one character to another, and what is the gist of the story, or probably like what is the message that you're trying to like convey to people out there? And yeah.
Well, the common thread throughout all the books is there's a phrase
Mhm.
that I kind of woven in between the stories where we're all tools
Mhm.
meant to be used. And the point of that is,
Mhm.
we all have a purpose and we all have value. And, if we follow our purpose, then, everybody has like
Mhm.
a, one tool for one job is not good for that particular job, but it doesn't mean that tool's not good or that person. They just have to find a tool
Mhm.
they just have to find a job that they're adept to do, that they're set up to do. And I think that's
Mhm.
the thing throughout and it's all about where you have people who are in high places who their family dynamic is not so great, and you have
Mm.
people in the lower places in the lower areas of society where their families are tight knit, and
Mhm.
where some people would think that people in higher places or the people in the lower category dynamic would think that they envy what the people in the higher society has, where in actuality what they don't realize is that they're looking at what they have and they envy. So it's all about where people or pens
That's
or
actually
whatever you have. Everybody is everybody wants what the other person has, and it's
correct.
about um, being, trying to find your place and try to find
Uh-huh.
happiness. So yeah,
Mhm.
that's basically what it's about. Yeah.
Right. So, I think it's more like one character is trying to be like the other character, and one character is like thinking that the life of probably the eraser is better than the life of the pen. Probably it's always about the comparison that you have. That is um, trying to it's more or less like human beings, like we like to compare among each other. So I was just a bit curious when you mentioned about races, right? So when you look at different writing utensils, and when you connect that with different races, so or why did that spark? Why did that idea spark, and how did you
Uh,
actually connect that?
you know, I think initially it was when I was looking at the pens, it was the different jobs they were doing. It was about I initially thought about their personalities, but then I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to diversify them more, and separate them more. And I said, I can have them. Why stop there with personalities? I
Mm-hmm.
can add kind of like races to them. You can add social hierarchies to them, and that
Mm-hmm.
tier system actually adds richness to the characters, and you can do more things with them rather than just have the
Mm-hmm.
characters flat. Um, and just also me just growing up in America, African American,
Yes.
it's hard to
Yes.
think. I go through life and I deal with race. I've dealt with everybody.
Correct.
We all have advantages or privilege, and some of us
Exactly.
don't have privilege. And I didn't want the book to really be about that. I was kind of just writing about this journey of this pen, about his self-esteem.
Mm-hmm.
And if
Mm-hmm.
anybody, it's more about him
Mm-hmm.
falling in love, and he wasn't really love is love, and it doesn't really matter about the status.
Mm-hmm.
If two people are attracted, it kind of transcends that. So that's what the
Mm-hmm.
story is about. It's about really about that, and family and friendships, and
Mm-hmm.
everything else kind of it kind of goes in with that. But the central plot of that is Artie has his support system. He has his friends, and then Claire from the upper echelon. She has her support system, her friends, and
Mm-hmm.
you know they're from different worlds, but they have that commonality, and they have
Mm-hmm.
that where they can meet kind of in the middle. And I think people on the outside, when they see that, it gives it like in the whole series, it shows that that they're not different. They're not so different, although they're They're, they're different kinds of pens. At the end of the day, they're all writing utensils. So just like
Correct.
we're all human. So that's basically just of this whole series.
Okay. So you published the first book, I think was in 2016, right? And the second book just came out, and you're working on the third book. And so, how has the feedback from people who have read your book has been like so far? What did they say about it?
Well, I mean, when I wrote it, it was mainly because I turned 40, and I had
Mm-hmm.
started it. I started writing the book, and I just wanted to finish what I started. I had
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea that people would take to the story. I mean, because when I was writing it, I had doubts sometimes. So and then I just wanted to finish the story, and I just said, what, I just wanted to finish where I started. So what I did was I just persisted on that, and in the end, their feedback has been good. It's really been good. I mean, just to have people reading the story and
Mm-hmm.
telling me that they relate to the characters is something I never would have imagined. Coming from a drawer scribbled on a receipt. It's kind of it's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy. Yeah.
Right. So, in terms of keeping up with people who read your book and um, to share more things about your writing journey, um, what do you like? The marketing tools that you have been using so far, or the marketing techniques that you have been using so far. Do you have a website, or yes, tell us about that, and tell us about your future plan and what you intend to do to connect with readers.
Well, I think on the second book, the first book, I was completely green, and I kind of just flying by the seat of my pants, and I did a couple podcasts here and there on just with marketing. I don't have a degree in marketing, anything like that. You kind of you you go for you read up on it, and you just see other self publishers, and you take tips from other people, and just it's all kind of been trial and error in the first one, and then the second one is kind of a little more organized, campaign, and not the first one was so helter skelter, right? And it was some strategies, but this one was more because the first one was all brand new to me. So this time around, it's a little more organized, and it's a little more. I know what a little more to expect, but come the next release, I think it can even be even better. Um, and yeah, I think just by experience and trial and error,
Mm-hmm.
using different techniques and
Yeah.
just different techniques
Mm-hmm.
help
So,
help people be successful.
right. So what we can see over here is your first book. Artie is an ink pen thrown into the fast-paced office environment. He needs to learn and adapt quickly. Can he do it, or will he end up in the bin? Right. So, I think this is really like very much relatable to so many of us who are working in the office environment, not just office environment, but I think in reality, for many adults, we all can actually relate to that, right? Like, to be able to keep up with other people at the working place, and the kind of competitions that we have, and kind of jealousy and all that stuff. So it kind of like reminds me of that. So your second book is over here. So let me just share this. So this is the second book, right? Office Pool 2, which is the extraction, is a sequel. It picks up right where we left Artie and Company in the first book. and now past the introductory phase of the office pencilitics. I believe that comes from politics, right? In this small world, young Archie and his Paul find themselves suddenly called upon to rescue Stanley. So I think the story actually develops from there. Yeah, so I think this is where people can actually check out your book on Amazon. So just to give, you know, a brief overview of where your books are being sold right now. So is Amazon the only place where people can actually buy your books from?
No, Amazon is one of the places it's sold. It's also the first book, Orientation. That's an audio book as well. It's on Audible.com, and then you have yeah, it's on Audible.com, and it's also on
Mhm.
Apple Store, Apple iTunes Store. So,
Mhm.
in those three locations, you can actually find the first book, and then the second book is being made into an audio book as we speak. So yeah, that will be on they'll be on Audible sometime later this year or early 2021.
Awesome. Right. So about the when I read your bio earlier on, it says that you're also working on another series, right? So will you be able to let us a little bit let us know a little bit about that?
Yeah, that one's it's called the Sons of Severn of the Severns.
Uh-huh.
It's much different from this particular book, this series.
Uh-huh.
It's like a medieval fantasy epic. Um, but the thing about this one is it's not going to have. There's some things where when you have when you read other fantasy medieval fantasy epics that are automatically in them that this one is devoid of. It won't have it at all. And I think
Uh-huh.
it'll be interesting to write it like that.
Uh-huh.
I think what other things usually have. I try to either if it's missing it, I'll try to add it, or if it already has it, then I would try to take away from it and
Mhm.
still use the story to kind of enhance it. It's right now it's in its early stages, but I'm finishing up the third and last book of the Office Pool series, and right now I'm just pretty much finalizing that, and then I'll be getting into that story full time, and that one will probably be released around December of next year, around this time, close to this time next
Uh-huh.
year.
Right.
So
Right.
I'm excited
Right.
about that. I've been working
Uh-huh.
on the Office Pool series for about 2016. It's almost 5 years. I'll miss the characters,
Mm.
but yeah,
Mm. Mhm. I think yeah, having three books in a series um is good enough. Like, I think you have explored the characters well, and I think you have developed the characters well, and I think it is probably time for you to try on another thing, like, try on different things. Um, speaking about the pandemic that we have going through right now, and how has it actually uh, encouraged your writing journey, or has it, like, disrupted your plans? And yes,
I think I
I
think
mean,
I think
even before that, right? So how is the situation at where you live right now? And I know US is one of the
well, it's been
hardest
a
hit countries.
yeah,
Yes.
it's been a very crazy week in America
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
here at the weekend. But
At this point, yes,
yeah, with with the COVID and
with the
stuff. But
elections going on.
yeah, I think with the pandemic overall, it kind of it kind of forces you to focus on what
Mm-hmm.
matters. And
Mm-hmm.
you know, I you know family. I was always family oriented person, but
Mhm.
it makes you focus on that even more. And the material
Uh-huh.
things kind of are, not, they're not as important as we see in the rate of death and everything. So, but while when I was writing the books, the first book that I wrote, there's a night and day difference between the first book. Uh, is a different world actually. I wrote one pre-pandemic, and then my
Mhm.
second book I wrote in the thralls of the pandemic. So,
Mhm.
um, it's good that people who have read both, they don't really see that I wasn't affected too much by it, or the story wasn't affected too much by it.
Uh-huh.
So I guess that's good in terms of consistency. Uh, but yeah, life is different.
Mhm.
I am able to work on, like I've been able to work on a lot of work in a short time, just being, hunkered down, uh, like the rest of Americans and most of the world. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, so it does help when but I that was kind of like my life before the pandemic too, in terms of like art. Once I start something, I kind of have tunnel vision. I will lock in until it's done.
Mhm.
So it's good and bad, I guess. All depends on who you
Yeah.
talk to and stuff. So, but yeah, that's how it's been for me during this
Because
time.
yeah, because I mean during this pandemic and what I've observed personally is that authors, especially writers, they have been taking this time to write more, and or probably people who are actually reading more books because they have more time. And yes, so in that sense, it actually helped. And also, some other authors have actually incorporated the impacts of the pandemic into their books, and probably that's one of the ways to channel their frustrations or probably the disappointments or the kind of feelings that they are going through. So I think we've seen a lot of things going on in the world right now, and especially in the writing world, um, where people are more affected. People's jobs are more affected right now, and they are trying to make the best use of their time. Like authors, writers, we are trying to write more at this point of time,
Yeah,
and so hopefully we will be able to encourage people to read more, and at this point of time I think we have to appreciate people who produce music, produce films, and I think artists like this are really essential in entertaining people and keeping people together in this difficult time, right? So um, so with that, uh, as we are coming to the end of our interview today, what do you like to tell your readers out there and about your book, and what do you think that they should give your book a try?
um, I guess it's if they're looking, if a reader or somebody's looking for something that's uplifting, which
Mhm.
a lot of us are during this time. I think it's something that's not wouldn't it's not really a real heavy read.
Mhm.
They both books were way in under about 60 pages, so they're real short reads. But there's a lot. I think there's a lot of
Mhm.
context there, and they can kind of
Uh-huh.
reread them. And there's details in there that you probably won't get on the first time.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I've been careful with the wording to make sure that it's
Mhm.
appropriate, for all ages and stuff. I mean, I know some of the
Uh-huh.
language there is probably a little wordy, but
Uh-huh.
nothing, no excessive violence or anything like that. I thought it
Mhm.
would be
Mhm.
important to have that where everyone could consume it.
Right. Right. So Yes, so I think with that, we've come to the end of our interview session today, and it was a pleasure to actually connect with you for our interview series for Tuesday. And I will be sharing the link. I mean, this interview is going to be available as soon as we end this broadcast. It's going to be up on Facebook. It's going to be available for replay immediately. So that's not going to be a problem. So apart from that, I will also be uploading the same video, I mean our interview, on Instagram, Twitter, and our YouTube page. And I will also be giving you the link, I mean, to download yourself, I mean, a copy of the interview video, so that you can also use it for your own promotional purpose, right? So I hope people will be able to watch this later. If they're not watching it right now, I hope they will be able to watch this later on. So thank you so much for actually joining us for today's show. And I had a great time talking to you, especially about your characters. And I think they are really very quirky and very well developed characters. And it's a short read from what I can see. You mentioned that it's like under 60 pages, so it's going to be like something that people can read in one sitting. So I hope that people will pick this book up and stay connected with us. I hope to see you in some of the shows. Thank you so much for joining us, and have a great day. Thank you so much.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Take care.